Hey everyone, it's Alexander Seery, founder of Entrepreneur, and today I'm with Daniel Priestley, who is a successful entrepreneur, best-selling author, and international speaker. Daniel started out in 2002 at the age of 21, where by the age of 25, he'd built a multi-million pound business. Daniel is also the best-selling author of 3 incredible books I all recommend you read: The Key Person of Influence, Oversubscribed, and The Entrepreneur Revolution, and soon to release 24 Assets. Daniel, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yeah, awesome. So what we normally do is start off and find out a bit about you and where you come from and kind of your influences. So who is Daniel Priestley?
Well, I grew up in Australia. My mum, a journalist and eventually also a politician at a local level. My dad, school teacher, started his own newspaper on the side, a bit entrepreneurial, and then became a business coach and consultant and trainer. So I got that blend of someone who's a writer, someone who's passionate about the issues, someone who's a teacher, and someone who's interested in entrepreneurship. So the parental influence is definitely there. I grew up in a very normal Australian scenario, so lots of beaches and
Nice.
and those kind of things that you imagine to be true are absolutely true. Snakes,
Really?
Spiders,
Big ass spiders,
sharks, all of that was there. First entrepreneurial experience was about 10 years old, actually. We had a house fire accidentally. We put it out quickly, but everything was smoke damaged. And rather than seeing this as a huge problem, my little eyes lit up as a 10-year-old, and I thought, I'm going to clean all this stuff and sell it, because they're just going to throw it all away. So they were like throwing it all in the trailer to take to the tip. I'm thinking, why don't we sell it? So I start getting really excited by the idea of putting on a garage sale.
Yep.
I lay out all the things, and I look at my garage sale and it looks a bit sad. So I think to myself, and I put up posters and flyers and a little ad in the newspaper. I think to myself, I need more stuff. So I go around to all the neighbours and I say, look, have you got anything you want to sell in my garage sale? We'll do a 50-50 joint venture.
Wow, at the age of 10?
10. How
wow,
silly, right?
that's
Crazy.
phenomenal.
I don't even know. No one told me to do this. It was just in my head, it was, well, we'll go halves, fair enough. So I ended up running a garage sale and I made $300, which was enough for a Sega Mega Drive.
That's phenomenal.
A fluorescent green BMX, which is the BMW of 10-year-olds.
Of course.
And what else? A couple of games.
Wow,
I was
that's phenomenal.
Living the dream.
I never knew that. That's really good, yeah.
Living the dream.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So who was the most influential person growing up?
I had lots of influences. I worked at McDonald's for 2 to 3 years, and the gentleman who owned those McDonald's owned 6 of them, and I was incredibly impressed by the fact that we never saw him. So I knew he had 6 McDonald's. I worked in one of his McDonald's, and I would maybe see him 2 or 3 times a year. And I had the opportunity to have a few chats with him about the power of systems and setting up businesses that are run by good people, and creating teams and brand and all those kind of things. I was very impressed by that. I had a brilliant influence from 18 to 21, which was my mentor John. John set up a marketing business that was very fast growth. I was employee number 4. Within 2 years, we had 60 people on the team.
Wow.
I got a taste for hiring, for selling, for marketing campaigns, email, direct mail, logistics, budgeting, all of that stuff.
Okay.
Those 2 years that I spent with John.
Soaked it all in.
Yeah, I really did. Yeah, it was like an apprenticeship, an entrepreneurial apprenticeship.
Awesome.
So by 21, I actually strangely felt ready to go out and start a business.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. What was your biggest fear, like growing up as a child, before 21?
Well, I grew up on the Sunshine Coast, which is exactly the way it sounds. It is a massive stretch of beach that is sunny all the time. So in winter, it's about 25 degrees.
Oh,
that's a cold day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's one day a year that we have to put a jumper on, and that's a very cold day of about 19, 18 degrees.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then in summer it's 35. So that's where I grew up. So my biggest fear actually was that I'd end up staying on the Sunshine Coast because I wasn't a great surfer. In my school, lots of the kids were professional surfers and were very, very good at surfing and were getting paid to surf. I could barely surf. So I knew that wasn't going to be a career. I didn't like physical hard labor. So, you know, in my hometown, there's a lot of building, concreting, pest control, climbing around in roofs. I'd done some work experience climbing around in roofs, trying to catch possums and stuff like that in hot roofs. You know, 40-degree day, the roof is hot. So I knew that wasn't me, and you know, the rest was just tourism and that sort of stuff. So as much as I loved, you know, my lifestyle of growing up in that area, my biggest fear was just that, you know, I'd stay on the Sunshine Coast and I wouldn't find something that fit with who I was.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm fairly
existential fear for a 15-year-old.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I suppose if you know what you want for your life, and you're kind of fearful of staying in that same position, then definitely. And that pushed you, I'm assuming.
It did. Yeah. I moved out of home at 18 and one day. So as soon as I was 18, I was out.
You're very independent.
Yeah, that's because I had great parents, very supportive parents. Some people move out of home because they're not happy at home. I had such great support from my parents that I felt very comfortable moving out of home, and they were encouraging me to follow whatever I wanted to do. So I moved out of home at 18 in a week, I think it was, not a day. I moved to the nearest city, which was Brisbane, big city.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I moved to Melbourne, and then I sort of found myself living in the heart of London, Zone 1, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of like
different transition a little bit.
Yeah, I grew up on the Sunshine Coast, live in Zone 1.
And much colder.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm always intrigued. I mean, every kind of entrepreneur we kind of interview, I'm kind of fascinated with their morning routines. So in the day in the life of Daniel Priestley, in the morning, tell me a bit about your routine.
So my routine starts with the baby monitor going off.
What
Daddy,
time?
Daddy, come and get me. At about 6:30 to 7.
Oh, okay,
Early, and I go and I've got a 2.5-year-old, so I go and get my little boy, and we sneak downstairs, careful not to wake up Mummy, let her have a bit of a sleep in, and then we spend from about 7:30 till 9 playing Legos, doing breakfast, watching some YouTube videos of trains and tunnels, and
that's awesome.
And Lightning McQueen and
Lightning McQueen.
Cars. Pixar Cars movie, we just play, and then when my wife wakes up, she takes over, and then I get ready for work and head on off and get going. I could easily. There was a time when I was a bachelor, get up early, go to gym and all those sorts of things. With little kids, something's got to give. And
definitely.
For me, my favourite weight routine is little 12 kilo.
I like drinking your protein and lifting your kid.
Exactly.
So, how do you relax and unwind? I mean, just kind of a chill out.
At the risk of sounding repetitive, it's family for me. Okay. So, we go down. We live right near Hyde Park. We just go for a walk in the park. Through my 20s, I went to 40 countries. I lived on planes, a gold frequent flyer on 2 different airlines. I would duck down to Mallorca for a weekend just because Friday morning I thought I should go to Mallorca this weekend. Why not?
That is phenomenal. I love that.
I love that. That was normal. And I would, we'd jump on a train, go to Paris as you do, head out to Singapore for a couple of weeks. That was my life through my 20s.
And is this obviously because in your 20s, from 21, before you're 25, you built a multi-million pound business?
So $10 million business.
So tell me about that. That's phenomenal.
So I started a marketing agency at age 21, specialising in event marketing, focused on road shows, taking different speakers and authors up and down Australia. Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne was our classic run. And we would do the Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne road shows. I got it in my head that, actually I think it was one of our clients said to me, if you're so sure this works, why don't you take the financial risk and we'll split the money 50-50 or something like that.
Wow.
And that was kind of a takeoff moment, because rather than charging a fee, we just did a joint venture, and I knew what we did worked, and so we made a lot of money. And very rapidly I took on the project of expanding franchises. So one of the core things that we would do is actually take on a franchise owner, someone who had created a franchise, and we would roadshow the franchise up and down the country, and we would sell lots of franchisee relationships.
Yep.
And you would typically get a franchise that was selling franchises one at a time, and then by running a roadshow of events, we might sell 50 or 60 franchises, and they wouldn't have sold 50 or 60 franchises in the previous 3 years. So
yeah.
I ended up being on really healthy cuts of all of the deals we were doing. We rolled out a DVD vending machine back when there were DVDs.
Wow.
So that was at that particular time, the idea of streaming a movie
was
no.
yeah.
that
yeah.
would
Netflix work.
Yeah, it was kind of like around a time where you would leave a song on download overnight to get a song.
Word. That's a long time.
So we did that. Different businesses. We rolled out financial services company. We helped them open up several offices up and down the East Coast and took a percentage of all of that.
Okay, and what was the toughest things you experienced when kind of scaling that?
Well, I tell you, no one. It's not fun going from 1 to 10 million in 3 years. It sounds awesome, and everyone goes, "Wow, I want to do that." No, you don't.
But if they look at the success and forget about the shit that's underneath, then
it's so horrible.
Yeah.
So there's a few rules I have with entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Rule 1: it's hard and it gets harder. So entrepreneurship's like boxing. You might start out boxing with an opponent who's going easy on you, or someone else who's junior. If you get better and better at boxing, you ultimately end up in the ring with big opponents who want to punch you in the face.
Yeah.
If you get better and better at business, you have so many moving parts, so many different things. You've got to manage people and cash flow and products and innovation, and all of these different things. And you have 24 hours in a day. You've got to sleep 7 or 8 of those. You're constantly hiring people and trying to get things right and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship, the more you grow your business, the more you're taking on lots of problems.
Responsibility and stuff, isn't it?
Yep. So it's hard and it gets harder is one of my first rules.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you accept that, then it becomes easy.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you actually say, it's hard and it gets harder, I'm okay with that, then you're not shocked.
Yeah. You're like, oh no, what I've got myself into.
Exactly.
Whereas you kind of preempt that.
I mean, imagine if you went to Africa and you thought that all the highways would be absolutely perfectly smooth, and you discover that they're bumpy, and you go, oh, this is, I didn't realize Safari had bumpy roads.
Yeah.
And your whole time you're worried about how the roads are bumpy. And if you went there expecting bumpy roads, you'd go, well, of course they're bumpy roads. I'm going to enjoy the trip. Enjoy the journey. So entrepreneurship's the same. The more you expect the road to be smooth, then bumps, you feel every bump. And the more you expect the road to be bumpy, you actually just enjoy the journey.
Okay, that's awesome. I like that. Good stuff. So as part of Entrepreneur, what we started incorporating is questions from audience, with people who follow you on social media and stuff. So question from Colin Davis, who will be watching, is his girlfriend has just started, has been self-employed as an interior designer, and what kind of 3 things should be her main priority to ensure she gets sustainable success, whether it's marketing, kind of books or...
There's only 3 things that matter in the early days.
Okay.
So in the early days of business, you need what I call an audience, someone who's paying attention.
Yep.
You need an offer. So a package, the ability to solve someone else's problem for them, and you need the ability to sell it. So if you have an audience, an offer, and sales, you are basically, you've got the 3 ingredients required to get you to about 10 grand a month. And if I'm looking at anyone who's not yet at 10,000 a month in sales, it really comes down to audience, they're not seeing enough people. Offer, they're not solving a big enough problem, and they've not clearly articulated the problem that they solve. Or sales, they're not asking the tough questions of when do you want to start, would you like to pay direct debit, payment plan, credit card?
Yeah.
They're doing the very British thing of saying, well, get back to me whenever you're ready.
Kind of a polite thing.
The polite, you call me.
Hear from me soon.
And in this world that we live in now with Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, people don't remember what they did last week. So, no one ever calls back. So, audience, offer, sales.
Awesome.
You don't need anything else. You don't need websites. You don't need you don't need CRM systems.
It's 3 things.
Yeah, very basics, very basics.
Okay. Awesome. So, Oversubscribed,
Yeah.
amazing book. Tell me how you came up with that concept, and tell me what kind of came the idea, really.
Filling events.
Wow.
So for 15 years, part of the business has always been having to fill events, and everyone says, "How do you fill events?" So we've run events of 2,000 to 3,000 people at a time. We've run events of 30, 40 people, perfectly selected people, and everything in between. When I was a teenager, I ran dance parties and put on nightclub parties, and you had to fill nightclubs and all that sort of stuff. So a common question I got asked was, and a common question I asked myself is, to make it a bit easier, how do you do this? How do you fill events? What are the steps? What order do you do things in? So a couple of things. Number one, that was a key question that people were asking me. And number two, the learnings and the lessons from filling events apply to getting restaurants with a queue out the front, and that applies to selling software as a service, and it applies to launching a website, and it applies to launching a fashion brand, and it applies to getting yourself out there as a expert. So all of the same thinking that goes into how do I get an event full, or how do I pack out a nightclub, or how do I do all those sorts of things, it's the same thing.
And can that be used in any kind of niche or market?
Yeah, and it almost has to be, because you won't ultimately be profitable unless you're oversubscribed. So the only types of businesses that stay profitable are the ones where demand outstrips supply. Actually, I'll tell you another place that this happened.
Yeah.
I used to, when I did financial services marketing, in the marketing days, there was a gentleman who had been a very, very successful bank trader. And he had made millions and millions of pounds, and he'd been a trader on behalf of one of Australia's biggest banks, and he led a trading team. And he said to me, he had a very funny accent, he said, "Daniel, why do markets go up?" And I said, "Good news, they've got a strong CEO, board of directors." I was trying to come up with a good answer.
Yeah.
He goes, "No, they go up because more buyers than sellers." And he goes, "And if there's more buyers than sellers, price goes up." And okay. "Why do markets go down?" "More sellers than buyers."
Yeah.
And he said to me, everything is the same. He goes, if you think London property is bulletproof, right? It might, theoretically have lots of more buyers than sellers for a very, very long time. But ultimately, if ever there's a situation where there are more sellers than buyers, the market goes down. Can a market go to zero? It's unlikely. But if everyone wants to sell and no one wants to buy, the price goes to zero.
Exactly.
So, Kerry had said to me this concept when I was 22, 23, and it had always been one of those little things that had stuck in my head. That stocks are successful when there's more buyers than sellers, and they go down when there's more sellers than buyers. End of story. Everything else is noise. And I remember thinking, why are restaurants popular? Because there's more people who want to go there than they can accommodate. Why are certain consultants getting paid 5-10 grand a day while other consultants are getting 500 a day? Because there's so many people who want that consultant, and there's not enough of that consultant to go around, so the price goes up. And it was like, really simple.
It's like an aha moment,
an aha moment. You might not understand it. You might say, why would anyone pay $200,000 for Sarah Palin to come and speak at their conference? She can barely string a sentence together. And you go, because there are more people who want her than not. So it doesn't matter if you agree with it, doesn't matter what you think of it, doesn't matter if you think there are better speakers for 200 grand. If there are more people than if she can only speak for 200 days a year, and there's 400 days of people who want to pay that amount of money, price goes up. And
that's quite a simple concept to grasp, isn't it, really? So, I mean, in your book, The Entrepreneur Revolution, you talk about the industrial age being over. Can you explain a bit more about that and the Entrepreneur Revolution?
So we go through these different ages, and it's speeding up, but there was the agricultural age, which was essentially everything came back to farming. So if you were a landowner, you were the wealthiest person in the world. You made your money through through letting other people farm your land. And even today, the dukes and the earls, what's left of them, they're all the ex-landowners of hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
So that was the agricultural age. The industrial age essentially was all about plant and equipment. If you owned the factory, if you owned the means of production, so the Rockefellers owned oil refineries.
Yeah.
The Fords had car factories. So if you owned the factories and the refineries, then you became the wealthiest and most successful person. And then it sort of went into the information age,
yeah.
which is if you were the one having access to information, which was rare. A lot of people didn't have information. Few people did have information. So if you were a white-collar worker in an urban city, you were earning all the money. The Goldman Sachses and the accountants, the lawyers, the professionals, the M&A specialists. And then we've gone, and now information is so ubiquitous, we've actually gone into the digital age.
Okay.
And the digital age is if you own assets that are digital assets, you're the one doing the best. So Mark Zuckerberg, it's essentially the question, who shows up on the most smartphone screens?
Yeah, that's where the attention is, right?
Yeah, so if you imagine like the real estate has gone from big chunks of land
yeah.
to factories,
yeah.
to houses,
yeah.
and office and office buildings,
yeah.
to smartphone screens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the most important real estate on the planet
yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So if you're Mark Zuckerberg, you're the wealthiest person in the world basically, because your property, Facebook, turns up on most people's real estate on the most screens. If you're Jeff Bezos, what matters most is that when people pull that phone out and think about buying a thing, you're the place that they go. So everything else is noise. So this digital revolution that's happening, we're now in the digital age.
Great stuff,
Yeah.
great stuff. I've got another question from a person who follows you. His name's Adam Wilkins. What kind of things should you consider when selecting a niche?
So there's a few things you need to consider when selecting a niche. You need to select a niche that you have credibility within. So people need to listen to your backstory and go, because of who you are and what you've done, I will trust you with what you're doing now.
Of course, yeah.
So unfortunately, I see people who say, "Oh, I'm so sick of the corporate world. I'm going to become a Pilates instructor." And I go, "But you can't touch your toes." So credibility, that your background gives some points to the credibility, that your story matches up.
Yeah.
That you're choosing a niche where the person who you're targeting, that you're wanting to serve, has a significant problem that they don't want to solve themselves. So there has to be a problem. There has to be some sort of a unmet need that they can't get solved themselves. That they're frustrated with, some frustration. And then finally, they have to be able to pay for that. So they have to have means, or someone has to have means. So maybe the government pays for it. Maybe a loved one, a parent pays for it. But we need something that you're going to be passionate about, that you're credible, your passion and credibility line up, that there's a desire or need in the market, and that there's the means for that to be a commercial success.
It's great answer. Love that. And when you're kind of building a business, and with any kind of business, when do you know it's the right time to expand and how to do that?
So the way you know is there's three main phases that a business goes through. The first phase is establishing value, which is really about getting an offer in the market that people like, and that it does what it says on the tin. So that's a great thing that you would say about value.
Yeah.
Oh, it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Okay, great, we've established some value. The next one is to establish what's called influence,
Okay.
which is that you don't have to chase everyone. Some people come and chase you. That you're invited to speak places. You get inbound inquiries. That your blogs end up being read. So this is about having varying degrees of influence. So value into influence, and then the third phase is assets, and this is where you turn everything you know, everything you do into formalized brand, formalized intellectual property, formalized products. So you're actually assetizing the business. So value, influence, assets. And the way you shift gear is by getting oversubscribed at the halfway points. So you become oversubscribed for value, which essentially means that people recognize your value, they're willing to pay for it, you're a little bit cheap. You're kind of like selling at the lower end of the market, and everyone's going, I want that, and you can't keep up. So
Yeah.
you become oversubscribed.
Yeah.
And you let yourself get more and more oversubscribed where people are just annoyed at you because you can't. So, you know, I know these young guys who do this grass business where they do artificial grass on roofs and things like that, on terraces. You know, and they're booked out months in advance, and they're at a low price point, and that's one of the reasons they're booked out right in advance. But they're not influential; they're just very valuable. They've hit value. They're oversubscribed for value, and now they can become influencers. So you hit that oversubscribe point, you become an influencer. Now you switch gears. You're out there talking to the market. You're creating new products. You raise your prices because you're an influencer. So now you've gone from middle to bottom of the market to middle to top of the market. Because you're the influencer, people want to work with you. They're willing to pay a premium in order to do that. As soon as you put those prices up, the demand drops off. So now you've got to be more and more of an influencer in order to get yourself back up to capacity.
Yeah, so it's like a glass filling up and then it spills over, it fills up again.
Yeah, and then you get a bigger glass.
Yeah.
So then you tip that one in, and suddenly you went from having a full glass to having a glass that's only 20% full.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, right, so I've got to fill this up. So then you become an influencer. Mm-hmm. And a couple of things happen. You create new products and all those sorts of things. So that's new capacity, a bigger glass. And by becoming that influencer, people who know about you, they've heard about you and all that sort of stuff, the glass fills up again. And then suddenly you become such an influencer, you get all these high quality problems. And the high quality problems is, will everyone leave me alone? Stop emailing me. Stop messaging me on Twitter. You know, you get these people who go, you know, they'll send you a message on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and email, and they're ringing the office. It's like, I just want, I just want to buy from you. Like, leave me alone. Right? And then you have high quality problems like, there's 2 major conferences that want me to speak on the same day, and they're both willing to pay top amounts for it. Yeah. Or, you know, they want me to go and speak in Bali, but you know, it's just too tight with my diary right now.
These are pretty good problems to deal with.
These are influencer problems, and they're very genuine, by the way. All of those ones are real ones that I've experienced. Yeah. People send you weird stuff for free, and you know, you get invited to all these things, and no one will let you pay for your own meal.
Love it.
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
So that's the influencer problem. At that point, you're massively oversubscribed. Your diary's always full. Feel like you're at breaking point. At that point, you create a business that has assets that can scale the business well past your own brand. So you create a standalone brand, you create standalone intellectual property, standalone products, a culture of a team and culture who replicate the values that the business is all about, and then you create a much, much bigger cup. And at that point, you can go from 2 million to 20 million. Wow. Wow. You know, when you've got assets.
Okay. And what would you say is the main reason people fail in business? In your experience of many years, what would you say like the crucial?
Well, it's different at different points. Yeah. So in the early days, it's failure to establish value and to build a team. So doing everything on their own. You know, solopreneur is a very damaging word. Yeah. I think it's like saying I'm a solo soccer player. Yeah. You know, you can't be a solo football player. No. But I don't really like teams, and I don't like organising. So what I do is I just run out onto the field by myself and try and kick goals. It's like, but that doesn't work. No. So entrepreneurship is a team sport and should be sold as a team sport, and that's something that fails. You know, hiding behind a brand too early is a great way to fail. Yeah. You know, so you basically say, I'm trying to build a brand. I don't want anyone to know who I am, or I'm not willing to be the face of my own brand.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I see that a lot. Yeah. I see people go, I don't want the business to be about me, and I don't want anyone to know who I am. It's like,
really? I didn't think people would.
Well, when I'm talking about key person of influence, sometimes people challenge the idea and they say, well, like I can see the value, but I just don't want that. I don't want to be known by anyone.
That's very interesting.
I want to be fully anonymous. And I say, well, you know, A, it's not about you. It's about what you're putting your attention on and getting other people to put their attention on. But B, we've passed the point of not being able to be an influencer. You know, General Motors is worth less than Tesla. Tesla's got Elon Musk, and General Motors
tweets, actually.
Who knows?
You posted a tweet, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. That was phenomenal.
You know, so influencer strategy is super important. Yeah. And then there's this very, very difficult time between 12 and 50 employees. I really don't recommend anyone go above 12 employees, 12 people on a total team, unless they're really serious about going to 50. because between 12 and 50, you need leaders, managers, and technicians in the business. You need someone who's just holding the space for everyone else, and coordinating the team. But you can't really afford that person until you hit 50. So from 12 to 50, you need an organising force outside of the entrepreneur who's typically disorganised. But you can't really afford them, and you can't. The business is going through a real. I mean, that's the cocoon of caterpillar into butterfly. But this is where the business, implodes. You have a wonderful business that's doing £2 million revenue, 500-600 grand profit, 12 people, and then by 25 people, you're doing 3 million, losing £400,000-500,000 a year. So I see that all the time.
Is that the lifestyle business you?
Lifestyle business is great. The desert, crossing of the desert.
And that's where you transition?
That's where you're transitioning from a boutique to a professional organisation.
Right, okay.
And it's a very difficult transition that most people mess up.
Right, okay. And in your experience, again, what's a good habit to develop in business early on? What's something that you wish you started earlier to develop?
Being the dumbest person in the room.
Right, okay.
Would be a great habit.
Is that because you come up with the ideas? You feel like you're...
I have a meeting with my CFO. My CFO is an ex-partner at PwC, has run a PLC corporation. He's got so many wins under his belt. He's helped raise tens of millions of pounds for funding. He's seen all the problems before. That's a good meeting.
Okay.
I might have a meeting with Kevin Harrington in the USA, built a $5 billion business, floated a company on the NASDAQ, and one of these guys who has an impeccable reputation. He was a shark on Shark Tank in the USA, a big TV show.
Wow, yeah.
And we'll sit and have a chat, and that's going to be a good meeting. So the more you can be the dumbest person in the room,
the more you're going to gain.
That's a great habit.
Yeah, awesome. I like that. It's kind of like on peer group.
Yeah.
Simon Zucchi, who another interview I did, he goes skiing with better people and he raises his standards, kind of thing. So I get that. So, interesting question, which I ask everyone. If you could have a 60-second conversation with the person you are now to the person you are when you was 18, what would you say?
So when I was 18, I was living in a garage.
A lot of successful entrepreneurs seem to kind of come from garages.
Yeah.
Why is that?
A mattress on the floor. I had spent £40 on a rug, £100 on a mattress, a horrible little desk for £20 secondhand.
Wow.
And I was happy as anything because I was, had the whole thing ahead of me. I had my magazines about, the latest Ferraris that I was going to buy. No. The dirty magazines under my bed were business magazines. Right? I was reading Inc. and Fortune magazine.
Cool.
And, I was doing all, I was excited about that. Nothing really. I just say, just enjoy it. Don't wish away the years. Enjoy being 18, which I think I did. I did enjoy being 18. I just simply say, I'm really happy with the way things turned out. So there's not a lot.
Okay.
There's
cool.
not a lot. I'd probably say your pimples aren't that bad. Just get over it. No one really cares.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. Strangely, girls don't even care.
No. Yeah.
The stuff you think they'll care about.
It's your own mindset really wild at that age.
Yeah.
So, do you think or believe there's a certain formula for success?
There are certainly formulas that work, and then there's also a magical alchemy kind of agreement. Right place, right time, bit of luck, bit of chemistry. In the same way that there are definitely formulas for getting all sorts of things done. If you think about an actual recipe or something, there are all the ingredients that go in and the order to put them in. Ultimately, you've got to have the fire underneath to cook it. And there's that chemistry that just happens. So I'm a huge believer in luck.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Most of my success is down to luck, if you think about it.
Wow. I've never heard that. Like someone as successful as you kind of say that, really.
I'm just massively lucky.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky to be born at the time that I was born in. if I was born at any other time in history,
okay.
I would probably be a soldier, a farmer,
Yeah.
A factory worker.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's incredibly lucky. I was very lucky to go to a school that was paid for by the government and by taxpayers.
Sunny beaches.
Right. I was lucky to get some sunny beaches. I've been lucky to meet certain people. There are lucky places to hang out and unlucky places to hang out. There are certain places that I'll just go and hang out and base myself, not because I have a specific agenda. I just know that good stuff happens if I'm hanging around with these people and hanging around in these places.
Yeah.
So when I say I believe in luck, a lot of the time people want there to be a formula, and there is a bit of a formula, but there's also a magical thing called luck, which is, had I not gone to that party with those great people and hung out and had that really great conversation, had I not introduced myself to that person, if you think about, if I think about how I met my wife and all that sort of stuff, I might not have gone out that night. I might not have, I might not have, my friend said, do you want to come and meet some interesting people? I might have said, oh no, I'm just going to go and watch TV, it's like, well, TV tends to be unlucky. And going out networking with good people tends to be lucky. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. I can't give you the formula for what might happen in that scenario. But I can tell you that going and meeting good people is luckier than sitting at home watching Netflix. Right? So I do believe throw yourself in front of the bus called luck.
Okay, awesome. I like that. And these growth accelerators that I'm kind of privileged to be on. It starts in May. Can you tell a bit more about your growth accelerators?
I was really fascinated by Silicon Valley growth accelerators. So growth accelerators in Silicon Valley is where they get 23, 24-year-old technology coders, and they test their coding skills, and then they say, if you're a really good coder, you can come into this accelerator. We'll give you some money, some desks, some computers, some resources, put you around other people who are really good at coding, and we'll see what happens. And what actually happened, Airbnb, Evernote, Uber, like lots and lots of multi-billion-dollar businesses came out of these accelerators. So I was very fascinated by that, and I came up with this. I could really see that there was this idea called environment dictates performance. Get people in the right environment, give them the right resources, and this very predictable result happens, which is value gets created. And there's this magic and chemistry within these accelerators. So I was very fascinated by these. But as someone who can't code and isn't going to ever likely be a coder, I sort of saw no avenue to get myself into that environment. And I read a statistic that the average age of $1 billion company, the founder was 37 when they started it. So it becomes a $1 billion company when they're 13, 14, 15 years in. I think 21 years was actually even a really significant number, that the business takes off at about 21 years. But on average, a lot of these really big successful companies get started by 37-year-olds. However, what it said is that it never makes the news, because it's not really newsworthy when someone's had 15, 20 years working within a senior team at Microsoft, built their connections, and then they've worked within VC and private equity, and they've got all these great connections, and then they go out and start a business with a bunch of great people, and then they build a multi-billion-pound business very predictably, and it doesn't really look as cool as the two kids in the garage who started with absolutely nothing at 18. So what makes the news is the really rare event, and what doesn't make the news is that very valuable companies are built by people who have got experience. So I wonder what would happen if you put together the accelerator environment with people who've got really unique experiences and maybe 10, 15, 20 years of experience, or very unique life experiences. And if you actually said, this isn't about becoming a coder and coding up platforms, this is about an accelerator for becoming an influencer. So that was the genesis of the idea. We tested it with a group of 30, and they just took off. Doubled, tripled their incomes, became best-selling authors, got speaking engagements, all sorts of that sort of stuff. We then just started expanding it. It took off around the world: Australia, Singapore, UK, USA. We've had 3,000 companies come through. We see people regularly doing 3, 4, 5, 600% growth in under 2 years. We see with surprising regularity best-selling authors popping out. In fact, 2 today. So two of our clients became two of our clients are currently fighting for number one on Amazon. So this stuff happens all the time because we have 500-600 authors who have come through the program now and or become authors on the program. So all this fun stuff that we do.
Awesome. And what keeps you motivated to do what you do every single day?
I'm not motivated every single day.
No,
there's plenty of days where I just
want to chill in bed.
I just think I wish I had a big property portfolio. On days that I want to chill, I just chill.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll say, you know what, my body's telling me I've been pushing it too hard. Take a day out, clear the diary.
Okay.
I'll do that because I really want to maintain a sense of vitality that I love this thing. And if I stop loving it for a couple of days in a row, then I'll take a few days off.
Yeah.
And just get some sunshine.
Yeah, that's very true. I was reading Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco, and he says you start doing things, you start going into things that you love, but then you start working on it too hard. Yeah. You may dislike it, and then your passion's kind of gone.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
so the thing that keeps me the most motivated is the success stories of our clients. The thing that just blows my mind over and over and over again is just seeing our clients take off.
Wow.
So whenever I feel a little bit overworked, the thing that kind of snaps me back into being energized is, one of the team will say, Dan, have you seen what so-and-so's doing? Like, they've just knocked it out of the park. And I'll pick up the phone and say, hey, I heard you just did this. Oh yeah, and I've done this and this and this.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's the client success stories that blow me away every time. Great,
that's amazing. So tell me about 24 Assets, which I'm really excited to get my hands on.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about that book.
So 24 Assets, new book. It's about scaling an organization. So how do you create a company that can scale up? How do you create a company that's fun, it's less stressful? How do you create a company that's digital? Because all of the 24 assets are digital assets.
Yeah.
How do you create a company that's valuable? So they're some of the key questions that I try and answer in that book. So value, fun, scalability, and digital assets. And the idea here is that income follows assets. If you want rent, you first need a house. If you want dividends, you need some shares. If you want more business income, you need more business assets.
Okay.
So I started going through our own business and saying, where are all the bottlenecks? What are the assets that would alleviate that bottleneck? How do we create value when I'm not in the room in that particular area? I tried to map it because it felt like there were just hundreds of them. And actually, when I broke it all down, there were just 24. So I made a list of all the 24 assets that are there. And if you put something good in each of those 24 categories, the business just grows and scales, and it feels fun again, and it becomes very valuable. So I'll give you some examples.
Yep.
Intellectual property assets. You need content, you need methodology, you need registered IP.
Yep.
Registered IP. Brand assets. You need a philosophy, an identity, and ambassadors.
Yeah.
Right. So as soon as you can sign up some ambassadors, get a documented philosophy in a book, in an actual, like a documented philosophy, and a consistent look, feel, sound of the brand. Great, you've got that. Products, there's 4 products you need. You need a gift, a product for prospects, a core offering, and a product for clients. And when you've got those 4, you're ready to go.
Awesome.
So I just went through and I just mapped out all the different things that you need. And I've written it all in the book so people can access it.
And when does that come out?
May 24.
Awesome, okay.
I had to choose 24.
Yeah, obviously.
It was either going to be April 24, and then I got busy, and it's like, well, it has to be May 24.
Got to put it back.
Yeah.
So I'm very intrigued by a lot of successful people I interview, and kind of the personal development I study is mindset has a lot to do with kind of the difference between success and failure. And I'm really intrigued kind of what kind of personal development techniques do you do? Do you kind of read or?
Look, I used to be in very deep into the mindset worlds. I currently feel like mindset's very overrated.
Okay.
I don't think positive mindset or mindset has a lot to do with success.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
Because it's no good going through life with a shit mindset.
Yeah.
But in creating success, the truth is, I know a lot of people who've got very big successful companies and they're depressed and miserable and they've got a negative mindset.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people with a really positive mindset, they're bursting at the seams, they can't possibly see anything negative around them, and they've got nothing going on.
Yeah.
So hence, I don't necessarily think that mindset is a huge, it's worth working on for its own reasons. It is an ends to its own means. It is actually an end goal. To have a positive mindset is an end goal.
Yeah.
But having a positive mindset that'll make you successful is not necessarily, I think it's an overrated idea. Design thinking beats desire thinking. So airplanes take off because they're designed. It doesn't matter what the mindset is of the pilot, it doesn't matter what the mindset is of the engineers, they take off because they're well designed. Facebook works because it's well designed. Mark Zuckerberg may or may not have a good mindset all the time. Elon Musk may or may not have a good mindset all the time. There are so many examples of people who are drug addicts who build really big companies, but they're really smart at designing things. So I'm a big believer in design thinking over desire thinking. So many people, they think it's about desire and mindset and those sorts of things, and then they don't achieve what they want to, and they somehow think that they did it wrong, or that they beat themselves up. They feel quite negative. I'm actually quite fine with being negative. Sometimes there's a great calling for negative thinking. So if you're building a company, you should be negative. You should say, where's this company going to break? What are we not doing well enough? You don't want to approach your company like everything's great and everything's perfect. You want to be the first one to say, where are we letting people down? Where are we,
how I can make things better, systems and stuff.
So you want to drill into that sort of stuff. Also, being negative and down and depressed, sometimes you have really good ideas when you're depressed.
True.
You told me a story before we started filming about how a really horrible experience happened to you. You got really pissed off and then made some really empowering decisions for your life.
It's very true.
So, great. Why not get pissed off more often?
Bring on the negativity.
Right? I'll tell you, some of my best decisions in my life have been when I've been really annoyed.
Wow, okay.
I've had moments where I've just gone, enough's enough, I'm sick of this. It might be a particular relationship that's not working, a partnership that's not working. These people are taking the piss.
Is that because pain pushes rather than,
Yeah, sometimes. So I'm not, some days I wake up and I just don't feel it. I go, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just not feeling it right now. I'm sure Roger Federer hates tennis some days.
I like that.
Like, fine.
I love it. It's such a different perspective. I love it. So with regards to, there's only been times where you just thought, you know what, I just want to quit. And
all the time. Loads of times.
Wow.
Yeah, of course.
And you...
Because the thing about being human is you see what everyone else is doing, and you go, And look, running a global accelerator with 3,000 amazing companies and all these entrepreneurs and being a best-selling author and creating videos and all that sort of stuff sounds really cool when you say it fast, but when you're doing it for 7 years in a row, it goes really slowly. It's like watching a great movie in really, really slow motion, right?
Okay.
So some days, of course, you have moments where you go, gee, I'd love to go do it. Property building. Wow, I'd love to build a property portfolio. That would be the best.
Right? Okay.
Or sometimes I look at what our clients are doing and I go, God, I love what this particular client.
I want a bit of that.
Wow. I've got clients who have just, we trained them on how to be a digital business. They became a digital business and moved to Chiang Mai and now have agents in 14 countries around the world, and it all operates digitally, and it's going really, really well. They're living in a massive house in Chiang Mai for the cost of a 2-bedroom flat in London, and I'm sitting there going, Chiang Mai's looking pretty good, right? Why don't I, So of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Have you had any failures in your life? Explain a bit about any failures.
Probably loads.
Anyone you thought, oh God, I can't, not happy.
I just don't label them.
No,
I don't label.
Just learn.
I actually try not to label things success or failure.
Okay.
I just try and...
Any reason why?
It's just it is what it is.
Okay.
I know plenty of failures that have resulted in successes, as in something breaks, and as a result of that, you fix it even better and suddenly it works. And you go, oh, actually that's really good.
Okay.
I know a guy who had a success. Sold his business and has a very healthy trailing passive income, because it's not a passive income, but the exit involved multiple payments over the course of 4 years. So pretty much doesn't have to work. So by anyone's standard, you say that's a success. Except bored, lazy, right?
Yeah.
Can't get motivated.
Yeah.
Can't get excited about anything. Looking at everyone else's thing, going, my best days are behind me. What am I going to do next?
Wow.
Right. So, is it a success or is it a failure? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I know people who have been absolutely in debt and they own, they're totally squeezed. And as a result of that, they had to get creative. They had to get off their ass. They had to make difficult phone calls. They had to have difficult meetings. And as a result, they built something great. Is that a failure? Is it a success?
Okay. At the age of 21, when you first started out the marketing side of things, your business, when did you start to realise, like, you know what, I'm getting quite confident with the fact that this might take off? Was there a crucial point when you thought, oh, I've got something here?
That period of time, no.
Okay.
Because it just took off so fast that it was like the tiger by the tail moment.
Like overnight, or are you talking a week?
Well, I put my first ad on my credit card at 21. It was a $7,000 ad. We generated 70 leads. We turned those 70 leads into $48,000 in sales, and that all took about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks.
That is phenomenal.
And then I stuck another, out of the 48 grand, I stuck another 7 grand on the credit card for a new round of ads. We turned that into 48,000. And then I was doing that once a week, and we got up to, by the end of the year, it was $7,000 ad, 70 leads, 50 grand. And it was like, and it was just a matter of, I wasn't like, I wasn't stepping back and analysing it.
Yeah.
I was just like, whoa, we've got this, and I need to hire this person, and I need to do this. And I was always pretty paranoid that it would be a short-lived thing, and I need to make sure that it doesn't fall apart.
Yeah.
So it felt, and then we didn't stop. We went, 0 to $1 million. I think it was like almost 2, and then 10. So it was like,
wow, literally.
Yeah.
Wow, it's phenomenal. When you are kind of that young, building that business at 21, was any kind of family or friends going, what are you doing? Did they knock you back? Kind of stop you?
I don't think I had any time for family and friends.
Really? Was that busy?
Because I was always on planes. Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne.
Yeah.
But, I would have, if they had have said, all seems a bit crazy, I would have said, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, how do you deal with if you did get any like haters or naysayers, how would you just, because...
I don't know. Typically people only hate you because they're trying to give you some sort of feedback and they feel it's not landing. So they just disagree with the idea or something like that. I'm big, embrace the critics, right? Like find out, what's the problem?
Yeah, it's free feedback, right?
It's great, yeah. Someone who's passionately giving you free consulting, like awesome. What is it that there's someone who absolutely furious that I didn't do references in the back of my books, like academic books, of all, where's all the research? I go, well, I don't write like that. But it's interesting because I go, okay, maybe there are certain people that I'm missing because I'm not just putting in some, some references. Maybe I could consider that. But I'll take that on board, right? I'm not going to hate the guy because he's being a total dick about it. I'll just say, okay, fair enough, interesting.
Okay, awesome. And I got one last question from an audience who's named Grant Robe, who kind of follows you on social media. With all the noise in and around niche markets and professions, what's the top tip for keeping laser focused without falling behind your competition?
For starters, don't think about the competition. Just make the customer the center of your world.
Okay.
So, into the world we live in, if we went back 50 years, you wouldn't even know about what someone's doing in LA. You wouldn't know what someone's doing in Sydney or Singapore or Berlin. You wouldn't know what the hell anyone's doing in another marketplace. In today's world, it seems like all these competition, businesses are all around you, but actually they're all over the world and they're just creating podcasts and videos and blogs and stuff like that. So it feels like it's all happening. And it becomes very neurotic thinking about competition. You just have to say, all I can do is I can run my own best race. I can do the best job I can for my customer. I'm going to take my customer and make them the center of the universe. We're going to figure out their problems, take on their problems for them, solve stuff for them. We're going to roll up our sleeves, work hard, get creative, think things through, build great systems, improve, distill insights, turn it into intellectual property. We're just going to do all of that sort of stuff. But ultimately, if I'm trying to run a race and I've got my head to the side, I'm going to crash. So
Okay.
forget the customer, forget the competitors, put the customer at the center of the universe.
Awesome, great answer. Right, quick, fast round answers, okay? So really quick, got like 2 seconds. Okay, favorite film?
Shawshank Redemption. Fight Club.
Yeah. Favorite song?
Wheels on the Bus. It makes my son laugh.
Favorite book?
That's Not My Tiger.
Okay. Another book.
Another book from my
Okay.
bedtime story. Bedtime story from my little boy.
Okay. Favorite place to travel into the world?
Bali.
Bali. Okay.
Bali's good.
Nice. Never been.
Or Mallorca, Ibiza, the Alps, snowboarding, or just somewhere new.
Rub it in.
Somewhere new.
Yeah. Hobby?
Snowboarding.
There's a theme going on with a lot of entrepreneurs I'm interviewing. Yeah, skiing and snowboarding. Pet hate?
Pet hate, entitlement.
Nice. Do you have any pets?
No, not that no.
If you could have a pet, what would you have?
Probably a cat.
A cat?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a pretty self-sufficient little thing.
Okay. What's your passion?
My passion is entrepreneurial teams solving meaningful problems. I really believe that we're creating 5,000, 10,000 companies that are going to go out and solve 5 to 10,000 really meaningful problems in the world. I made a decision that I could have built one inspiring company, but it was actually more important to try and create thousands of really inspiring companies, and the only way to do that was an accelerator.
Awesome. Great. What makes you happiest?
Being present. Just being in the moment, just being right there, and normally that involves my family, just being with my wife and my little boy.
Awesome, I like
Soon
that.
to be 2 little boys.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. I didn't know that. So where can people reach you about your growth accelerator, the KPI, etc.?
Yeah, so it's an interview process that we do with every client. We take them through a process of finding a bit about their background and where they want to go in the future and those sorts of things. Contact dent.global, and all the contact us stuff is there. Fill in an influence scorecard, do the 24 assets heat map, 24assets.com. So dent.global, keypersonofinfluence.com, 24assets.com are 3 great resources.
Great stuff. And the ending question, in one sentence, explain what entrepreneurship means to you.
Entrepreneurship is making the most of the times that we live in. We live in the most absolutely amazing transformational times. Humanity really has to step up and solve some big problems in the world. And entrepreneurship is a way of solving problems in an expansive way. So when you solve a problem with an entrepreneurial solution, you don't just solve the problem once. You solve it in a way that now you can solve it twice. Now you can solve it 4 times.
Okay.
Now you can solve it 8 times. So entrepreneurship is a exponential problem-solving approach,
Okay.
and that's what I love about it.
Awesome. Okay, well, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Where can people reach you on social media, Twitter, etc.?
Yeah, at Daniel Priestley, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is all just at Daniel Priestley.
Great, thank you. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got tons of value. Don't forget to reach out to Daniel, and I really recommend that you read all 3 of his books, and don't forget to order 24 Assets. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.